not exactly the best role model. And is she ready to be in that world where women are hypersexualized and marginalized and demeaned at every turn? And is she ready for that? Have I taught her enough? It almost makes me wish for Cinderella again. I'm not sure if she's ready, but I hope she is. And I want to end, my favorite book when I was a kid was A Little Princess. I mean, I was a princess girl. I really was. My favorite book. It's about the story of 7-year-old Sarah Crewe, who is an orphan after her dad dies in World War I. And she lives in this boarding school for girls, and there's this, evil headmistress, Miss Minchin. And there's a part in the book, and I'm paraphrasing, and she says, "Look, you're not a princess. Look at your clothes, and they're all tattered, and you're not wearing shoes, and your hair is messy." And Sarah says, "I'm a princess, all girls are." And she said, "It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter if you're cold or lonely or scared. All girls are princesses." And so I've really thought about that, and are we really all princesses? And I thought about this from a spiritual standpoint. And we really are princesses. We come from a noble and a royal birthright. We are daughters of a king. And our brother, Jesus Christ, is the Prince of Peace. And so in those terms, being a princess is our birthright. And that's the kind of message that I want my daughter to take from it, her individual worth. I have loved doing this project. It's been a really fun one to do. I'm focusing on superheroes next for boys. That's kind of my next project, so we're going to keep it going. And I can only do this in this talk, but I hope you all live happily ever after. Thank you. Any questions? Oh yeah, go for it.
Nice and loud. You talked about merchandising princesses.
Yeah.
Did your study do anything to account for those who were merchandised and those who were not merchandised, and how that affects?
You mean the princesses themselves or the girls?
The girls. Receiving lots of merchandise, like the picture you had of
Yeah.
a girl, and then those who just didn't have a princess toy.
Yeah. So toys, so how many toys they have, princess-related toys, was a big part of our variable.
Okay, so it does talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Give results somewhere.
Yeah, no, it's part of the results. So it was how many Disney princess toys they have, how much they identify, and how much movies they watch. So it's kind of a combination variable. I think it's a huge part, though. And we had a really fun part of the study. We actually went to the Disney store, and we just counted all of the Disney princess merchandise and which princesses had the most merchandise. And so we're going to see if we can do something with that as well later on. Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah.
So you talked about how, ideally this would be kind of an ongoing study. How long, is there any way for you to track the girls you've already tested and test them, say, in 5, 10 years, things like that?
I hope to. I think that would be really fun. We've got the year data, so when they're in kindergarten, basically. But I'd love to see, how are they when they're in 5th grade? That would be cool. So we do have their information. We just got to see if we can track them down. Yeah.
Do you feel like your influence as a role model for your daughter trumps princesses?
That's a great question. So it is so hard. So I research the media. So I am on it with my kids all the time, right? We're on it. But they get sucked in just like any other kid. And so I feel like parents can do what they can do. And I try to, we talk about princesses all the time, and I try to bring out those qualities of the princesses I like. But then she'll come out with, crazy things, and I'm like, we've talked about this before. How do you not get this? So, it's a mixed bag. You do what you can do as a parent, as any parent, I'm sure, can tell you out there. Yeah, in the back. Yeah, there was just no long-term effects. And so princesses were no longer related to body image when I tested it a year later. So there was like a thing that was happening in the moment, but it fell out in the long term. So it didn't get worse, right? So it wasn't negative, but it just wasn't related at all. Does that clarify it? Yeah. Okay. Other questions? Yeah. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't present those results because there weren't very many results. But the boys who like Disney princesses, and they're kind of few and far between, but we did have some, are more gender stereotyped in the female direction. I didn't look at it over time, but just cross-sectionally, that was the only finding that there was. Good question. Yeah, Mark.
Is there any research on who might be the next set of role models as they get older for like your daughter? And as I look at like some of the Nickelodeon,
Yeah.
Disney Channel sitcoms, it seems like there's so much relational aggression among the young women. Is there any research that's looked at that and any kind of content analysis on their nature or their portrayals?
Yeah, you're speaking to the choir right here. I've had a couple of students in my classes who've looked at like ABC Family and specifically the Disney Channel for how much relational aggression is on there, and it's just tons and tons. And Peggy Orenstein, the woman who wrote Cinderella Ate My Daughter, makes that point that the girls start at princesses and then they go to Disney Channel, right? And so, Jessie and Good Luck Charlie and those type of shows are your new role models. And they're pretty safe at that age, right? In terms of sexualization. But then what we find is that these girls who used to be big on the Disney Channel, like Miley Cyrus, then grow up and become sexualized and exploited and all that kind of stuff. So that's a big concern. Yeah.
You said that gender stereotyping was greater, like, overall with the princesses, but was there specific princesses that encouraged it more than others, or like if someone liked Mulan, would their gender stereotyping be less? I don't know if that makes sense.
That's a great question. And we have that data, and I haven't tested it. But you'd think, right? So somebody who really identifies with Cinderella, who's a more passive character, would be a very different type of girl than somebody who identifies with Mulan or Merida, who are much more, powerful characters.
Overall, it was,
Just overall. Yeah, I haven't checked individual princesses, but I will. I want to. Yeah, over there?
So, with the exception of a handful, like in the Brave,
Yeah.
Mother Eleanor and Mrs. Potts, maybe, generally there's not any positive older female characters in Disney movies.
Correct.
Wicked and
Yep.
whatever. And I imagine you didn't talk about it in your study, but it'd be interesting to look and see, does that affect a girl's relationship with her own mother or with other female older,
Yeah, that's a great question. And they've done some content analyses, and you're right, like the mother figure is usually gone. And even so Brave, which I love, right? At the end of the movie, I had to tell my daughter, don't treat me like that. Because they have this kind of awful dynamic for most of the movie, with all these, conflicting things. So that's a great study. I'll put it on my list. Any other? Oh, yep, right there. Yeah. Great question. I haven't done that research, but there's been a lot of research on Barbie. What they find is that girls who play with Barbie as young as 3 years old show body image concerns after playing. And so I wouldn't be surprised. And even, Barbie is like a bad word in our house. We don't allow Barbie. But we have Disney princess dolls. But then I'm looking at the dolls themselves, and they're just as slim, and they look just like a Barbie doll, but with a different face. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a similar finding there. Yeah, right there.
What type of tasks do you have the older women do that identified as Disney princesses?
So that wasn't my study, that was somebody else. But it's called an anagram, I think. And no, tangram? I can't remember. But it's like a puzzle that you have to complete. And it's actually impossible to complete the puzzle. So, which is, they don't know that. So they're just gonna see how long you keep going before you give up. And the princesses give up very quickly. So that's kind of that finding. Any other questions? Thank you guys so much for coming today. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.